Hi guys, this is my third video now, so bear with me. I'm still new at this. First of all, I just want to thank the truckers that are the Canadian truckers that are heading to Ottawa right now to fight for our freedoms and to try to end these mandates. I know that it's been a long 2 years, and many people have grown very weary of what's going on, and it's felt helpless a lot of the time. What are we supposed to do? It felt like it didn't matter. You were darned if you did and darned if you didn't. So this actually feels like an answer. So I just want to thank all of you truckers for giving us hope. If any trucker happens to see this video, I know I certainly appreciate it and have been praying for you. So I just wanted to do this video to just kind of introduce basically why I knew that there was something just off and that there was a lot of deception here. So I've had a hard time trying to make my word, like, I'm having a hard time explaining this. And I've made about 7 or 8 videos now that I can't use because I'm rambling. So anyway, I want to start with 2017 and just kind of give you the backstory. In 2017, I just knew there was something off. I'd always seemed to be unhappy. I'd been married for 20 years. We never seemed to get along. There always seemed to be an issue with us or with finances. We had 3 beautiful sons, but, they were ambitious and rambunctious and, it was busy. And it was hard. And it was hard to get any time to even think straight, let alone try to find out, what you didn't know and that you even needed to know that. So in January 2017, after my oldest son, had what I call an invisible illness. It started with heart issues and it ended up so that he couldn't even walk, just kind of out of the blue. And he was hospitalized for 7 weeks and he had to be really rehabilitated, and they never found out why. He had test after test. They were all negative. They ended up saying that it was a psych issue. In the end, they wanted to put him in a psych unit, but I wouldn't allow it. But it ended up, they never did. They just they did physio on him in rehab, and within 7 weeks he was able to walk and he went back home. So he had so many issues at the time, but we never did find out. So at the beginning of 2017, he had just gotten out of the hospital. I think it was like the 4th of November in 2016. So we had that issue we were dealing with. And there was a huge issue in my marriage we were dealing with. And we just, like I said, money never seemed to be great. I mean, I was working as a nurse. I made a fairly good amount of money. And so did my husband, but we just never seemed to be happy. And so at the beginning of 2017, I really was distraught. And so one day I I actually was putting laundry away in my bedroom, and I looked in the mirror and I started to cry, and I made a plea. And it wasn't to God at the time, or I didn't think it was, but I just looked in that mirror and I said, why am I so unhappy? What is wrong? Like, I've never had a tragedy. Like, I have a nice home, I have a job, I have friends. Why is there always a struggle kind of thing? But it wasn't long and things started to change. And so after that, it wasn't long, and what I call an awakening, my awakening happened, where things just started to unravel. So I think what I'll do, I should tell you, I wrote a book after everything happened in 2017, and I began to have answers for things, or felt like I did, or started to realize there was a reason why things weren't right here. I wrote a book. And I wrote a book because I wanted to share it with people, because I wanted them to know how I knew something was wrong, and I felt like I'd found an answer. So the name of the book, oddly enough, was Deceived. So what I think I'll do, because I'm desperately trying to find a way to explain to you what was in my spirit back in 2017 at the beginning of it, I was thinking I would read the foreword to my book, so then you might have kind of an idea of what I was feeling at the time. I never published the book. It still needs edited. It's not like I'm trying to sell my book, because it's not even out. It's not even, I don't have anything done with it. It's just sitting here. And like I said, there's a lot of work that I'll have to do. I won't even go through it and take things out of it before I actually get it edited. So, but the reason I wanted to read this is just because I wanted you to know where I was at. And then hopefully I can kind of tell you just a quick summary of what happened after that. So this is the foreword to my book. At the beginning of 2017, I found myself begging for an answer as to why I was so unhappy. Having lost all faith in God, at the time it wasn't a prayer. The last few years of my marriage had been full of lies and deception. I was losing myself, and after dealing with a sick child for months on top of it all, it led to a desperate plea for an answer. Even though it wasn't a prayer, God still heard me. He sent an old friend within days that already had the answers I was looking for. Answers that would at first shock me, then make so much sense. Those answers led me back to truth, and back to God. There is very little truth in our world, and once you realize the deception, it is all that matters. I found it important to share my story, because I believe it is not only my story, but it's everyone's. So that was the preface, or the foreword to the book. So from there, basically I finished that book. I started it in January 2017 in the fall, and I finished it in January 2019. Now, the old friend that I'm speaking of, I heard from him right after that plea I made in the mirror. A few days later, he wished me happy birthday. And then a couple months later, he sent me a first message. And his whole reason for sending me messages was, oddly enough, to talk to someone about the information he was looking into. And it just so happened that it was kind of the information that I was looking for too. So I'm sure many of you would call us conspiracy theorists. And there's quite a few of us, I think, now, more than there was at that time. That was not something that people just didn't go looking for stuff back then. First of all, people were too busy. People, before Corona especially, you have that 9-to-5 grind, which is all by design, of course, for anybody that knows what's going on here, has a pretty good idea of what's going on here. It's a grind that's there on purpose, and to keep you distracted and not look for what's going on that they're lying about. So when him and I started talking, it was about all of this stuff. It was really about how we'd been lied to. And he'd usually end his conversations with saying, I know you think I'm a nut, but the funny thing is I was never the type that would dismiss information. If somebody tells you something, you have at least the decency to listen to them, because they come from a different perspective than you do. Doesn't mean that they're right, doesn't mean they're wrong, but why not listen to them? Why not have an open mind and at least hear what they have to say? So I was always listening to what he had to say. And I'm telling you, sometimes I would be like, oh my goodness, like, no, like, this is bizarre. Like, really? And I'm like, I don't know. But then I'd start looking into it. And it's not just one thing. I mean, one thing leads to another, and the next thing is you're finding the same information from different sources and totally different areas in the world, and that's what causes you to connect the dots. So I finished, that continued with us, and I mean, I divorced my husband a few months. No, I shouldn't say a few months. I separated from my husband a few months in that year, after that plea. I think we separated in August of that year, August 2019. And of course, Jamie and I, my now husband, my friend that, had researched a lot of things and looked into a lot of things that were lies, and was starting to realize that, we kept talking and we kept talking about it all. And that was main conversations. And we talked a lot on over Facebook Messenger, and he would send me things, and I started to well, that sparked me. I mean, I wasn't listening to him then. It was, well, I started doing my own research and I started connecting my own dots. So fast forward to after that to December 2019. And what happened then was I finished my book and I went to see Jamie. Well, it was funny because that visit that Christmas, we, after doing all this research and knowing something was wrong and knowing that it was spiritual even, we felt, both of us, in our spirit, there was something that was going to happen. And it was funny because we started watching, for some reason, it just started piquing our interest all about the Holocaust, but particularly about the nurses of the Third Reich, and about a lot of the doctors' experiments and a lot of the nurses' role in the hospitals with the children. And it was pretty disturbing stuff. And so, you know, we really, we knew in our spirit there was something going to happen. It was just funny that we ended up watching that, because a few days later when I got home in January of 2000, well, I guess it was 2020 then, right? You know what was going on in Wuhan at the beginning of that year. It was coronavirus, COVID-19, right? So it was not 2 months after that, after the big outbreak in Wuhan, that of course it started to affect us in March. So right from the start, Jamie and I kept thinking, is this it? Is this it? Like, is this real? Is this their Hegelian dialectic problem, the problem they create to provide the reaction and the solution to take more of our rights and freedoms away, or to get us more under control, I should say, because at the time, I guess, really, we had a lot more rights and freedoms than we do now, that's for sure. So to get us under control, stated control. And we knew about the New World Order and how it's being set up. And a lot of people didn't know about any of this back then. So, you know, most, I think, people did think it was legit. But as time went on, it was only a few weeks, and we really, you know, started to know that there's something not right, because there were so many, you know, the truth doesn't have a lot of holes. The truth is consistent and concise, and it, you know, it doesn't backtrack. It stays in one line, and it all, you know. But there was a lot of back and forth on things. There was a lot of things that weren't making sense. And, you know, Fauci with the mask thing at first, no, you don't wear the mask. And then a few weeks later, or a few months later, yeah, you wear the mask. And then it says right on the box of the same masks that they approved for coronavirus that it doesn't even work for coronavirus. And then you could wear a bandana if you wanted to, really. It was just a face covering. It didn't have to work. All kinds of stuff, like little stuff like that. And of course, bigger things about what the CDC was saying. So it didn't take long. We knew that there was something not right with this whole coronavirus thing. And at first, I'm sure we were, you know, there was a lot of people, I think, that knew something was up, you know, like we did for a while before Corona. But wow, there's a lot of people now that know there is definitely something up. Like, I've got so many friends on Facebook from all over the world that know that it's so important to know the truth, and they search for that every day. And no, we don't always know that we have the truth. When we have it, we don't, but the more dots you connect and the more passion you have for it, I mean, the main thing at the end of the day is to know who your enemy is and who not to trust. And that you might not know exactly what they're trying to do, but that you just know that you don't trust them. And I guess that's why it's important. So I'm going to end this video. It's probably longer than I wanted it to, but I wanted to kind of just explain, you know, how how I had this passion for the truth and where it came from and all that. So I can tell you that my next video, I'm hoping that Jamie, my husband, he knows a lot more about it than I do. So it's actually going to be about who our enemy is, who our actual enemy is, who people think the enemy is, and he's researched this thoroughly in the topic we're going to talk about. And so hopefully he'll be doing the next video with me. And so anyway, I just wanted to tell you that. And I also wanted to tell you, if you liked this video, that if you wouldn't mind giving a like, a share, and a subscribe, that would be awesome. I am trying to build my channel. I have a few more subscribers than last time. But I'm hoping to build this channel, and I'm hoping, that, to be interactive and people to comment to me, because I really want to hear from you. So that being said, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care.